bringing it back relatively soon. Frankly, I forgot about it. It was something you said that you would, help me with and look into. I would like to see that come back if we could, please. I gave her my personal commitment, and I don't want to get in Dutch with her. So, also, as far as the pool is concerned, comments are made about the foolishness of building the pool back in the day. I'm going to speculate because I wasn't here. Back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of development on this side of where we are right now. So I'm sure at the time it was a great idea to put the pool in. It was a saltwater pool. Okay. However, times have changed. Okay, the development of our communities, the development of South Florida, and I
Excuse me, Vice Mayor. Quiet in the chambers, please.
times have changed, and the issue of the pool, I would love to see that pool stay open. Staff is telling us that there's an economic disparity there. I'm certainly looking for any creative ideas we can come up with to make that happen. But just my gut tells me that with the development of South Florida and the advent of swimming pools in many people's homes, that pool is not as attractive to folks as far as a community amenity today as it may have been 50 years ago. And I think that's where we're having the problem in terms of usage. So I do believe we have to be creative. If we want to keep that pool open, we're going to have to find creative ways to keep it open in terms of events over there. I don't know how we go about doing that, but I would say that given the nature of or the proliferation of swimming pools throughout Palm Beach County, I think it's going to be difficult for us to legitimately think we're going to be able to attract individual swimmers or individual users of that pool in sufficient numbers that would support the pool. But I'm certainly open to any suggestions anybody has to keep it open. But again, I think back in the day it was a great idea, but things have changed and the intended uses for it have changed. So hopefully we'll get through that. With respect to duplexes, I think I asked this question before. Did not the commission, and Mr. Warstein, you weren't here, but didn't we have a moratorium or doing some duplexes a year or two ago? We outlawed basically duplexes, no more duplexes.
Williams in the building. Right here,
It runs in my mind that the commission took action to preclude any more duplexes to be constructed here in the city. That wouldn't break my heart if we did that. As far as liquor stores are concerned, Elaine, I'll turn to you. Do we have something potentially coming back to the commission on liquor stores in terms of an appeal or anything?
I think Mr. Royce will be able to answer that more than I have.
Well,
Are we still on the duplex question?
we have a duplex issue.
I don't have a record of actually adoption of a moratorium on duplexes.
Seems to me that I remember vividly that we did something on duplexes, and I just thought I'd bring that up. And if we haven't done it, maybe we should do it. But going back to the liquor store issue, are we potentially, this commission, going to have to act in a quasi-judicial manner?
There's not been an appeal filed yet.
Well, then I'm going to limit my comments about liquor stores only to the extent that I'd like to know how many liquor stores we have in the city within the city limits
I will get back to you on that one.
and where they're located.
I'm aware of at least 4.
As far as the CRA issue is concerned, and I hope I don't step on my toe on this one, about 12 years ago, the city commission sat as the CRA board itself. And at that time, it was decided that there was too much on the commission's plate and that the city would relinquish those responsibilities to an all-volunteer board. I opposed it then, and frankly, my position hasn't changed a great deal since then, for the very reasons that Ms. Squire pointed out. If you're going to have an agency, an organization that's going to be in the taxing business or whatever, there needs to be some direct accountability. And yes, we are accountable. I mean, obviously, if folks understand the issue well enough and they're dissatisfied with that process and how it currently operates, well, then there's a remedy for that. That is, they take us out on election day. But I do tend to agree that there needs to be more a direct line of responsibility, but that is not on the table right now. But she's absolutely correct. There needs to be an accountability to elected folks for how we spend money. Rental ordinance. Interestingly enough, I'm spending a few days in Palm Beach Gardens this week at a code enforcement conference, a series of meetings. I came right from a meeting that's dealing with rental ordinances and some of the creative things that are being done around the state of Florida and around the United States. So I'm looking forward, I'm going to bring that back to you. We've got some model ordinances that we can take a look at and see if there's any benefit to utilize them in some way or form. As far as folks renting homes on a nightly basis, I don't know how the heck we're going to police that. That's going to be a real tough thing to do. I understand Mr. Rinaldi's concern and other folks' concern, but the real issue here is that we need to position our city favorably for more home ownership and less rentals. And I think when that day comes, I think we'll see less and less of that type of illegal activity. And I think we're all trying to strive to put us in that position to have a greater percentage of home ownership in the city than we do rentals. And as far as signage, I absolutely agree. I took my beautiful Cocker Spaniel to get bathed and clipped today, and the owner of the establishment said, "Hey, how come I don't have my name out here on the business scripts on downtown?" You all know what I'm talking about, the metal, wrought iron metal signage thingies. The question is, who's responsible for that? Is that us, or is that the chamber? Who is handling that?
Commissioner Rosso?
I can answer that. Years ago, it was a grant. What we've done now is, before Mr. Kroll left, he, through the DCA, we requested updating that signage, and we did through the printing place across the street. And to get a sign up there, it costs $30, which is really just the price of the sign. And they can contact the DCA. We tried to come through the town and get everyone on there. Pretty much everyone at that time is on there. What grooming place are you referring to?
Not faucets. Donna and right next to the Texaco station.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
They can contact the DCA. I don't think we win that.
May I expand on that a little bit? It was coordinated through the planning and zoning office and one of our secretaries, which really didn't have control over the manufacturer. The blades for those signs are actually public services. We've turned over the contact with Jamie's Brown and Doris Ortiz. So you call public services, request your sign, and then put it together and install it.
So it's just a conflicting message between.
Well, it was done through Joe's office, which would be the same office as Jamie Brown now, and it's going through Q, but they can go directly to them, or they can contact the DCA, but it does cost $30 to produce the sign.
Okay, all right. Then I'll take care of that in personal office. I think that's all I have for you.
Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Mulvey?
Just a couple things. The pool, city manager, can you just update us where we are with that? Because I know that it was updated at the last meeting, but
At the last meeting, we had indicated that the expert who works with the county on their aquatics was going to be looking at our pool within 2 weeks. It hasn't happened just yet, so I don't have a report, and that's why as soon as I do, I'll give you that information. There's a variety of things that can be, that would determine where you go from there, but that's the first piece of information. We need to find out if there's anything wrong with it.
okay, so we're still waiting on that. And Mr. Rinaldi, in reference to signage, I actually contacted the DOT, Department of Transportation, and asked them about signage on 95, both 6th Avenue and 10th Avenue. What I was told is because we did not have a direct road, like Boynton Beach, Lantana, other people that directly came into their city, that we were not entitled to those signage. I then went to the city manager, and neither one of us liked that answer. So we decided that we were going to pursue it a little farther, so that's where we are. However, we did both decide that we'd like to look at putting something on 6th Avenue, 10th Avenue, directing to the beaches, downtown shopping, historic area, things like that. So it is being discussed, it is being looked at, and once we have something we can actually sink our teeth into, then we'll look at bringing it back to the commission.
Commissioner Mulvey?
The liquor store issue, there are studies that show that where there's a higher density of liquor stores, there's actually higher crime. California's done quite a bit of research on this and have set liquor store controls and regulations, which is something we may want to consider up here. Knowing that we're working on reducing crime in communities and we have people moving to our community, that contradicts the fact that there could be a liquor store in somebody's backyard. So I think we do need to look at it and look at regulating the liquor stores and take into consideration these studies that have been done that have proven that they create nuisances. And in some cities in California, they actually make the liquor store owners be responsible for the nuisances that are being caused in their community. So I appreciate the comments that were made from the public, and I appreciate the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation. It's sometimes a challenge when you have, business opportunities that conflict with community interest and benefits in the community, and that's where sometimes you have to make the hard decisions in denying something that actually is going to provide more harm to the community. So we can discuss that later, I guess, if we want to regulate and maybe look at some regulations that have come out of California and studies that have been done in that area. You've already talked about the signage. Marketing Task Force had recommended it. I know the last assistant city manager was working on it and working with. You were working with her as well?
working with her on it.
So I'm not sure where all that has come to. I appreciated the comments that were made by Mr. Addison and his history here in the city. And we will be discussing a proposal for a height charter amendment, height regulations later on in the meeting. The Sunset property, if we can get an update on that during your comments, both city attorney and city manager, that'd be appreciated. The travel budget, it's always a heated issue. At one point, we had discussed actually cutting it and using that money towards a sustainability manager. There were comments from the community that said that they wanted us to go and get educated. So, but then when we said we're going to get educated, they say we don't want you to go. So, those types of things happen, and that's where it's at with the tribal training budget.
What did that mean?
And I think that's all I have. I do want to thank the Planning and Zoning Board for all their work over the last 2.5 years, setting up the land development regulations and their comp plan amendment recommendations that we'll be discussing later on tonight. And I'm just, I'm sorry the direction that it has gone, that we're actually eliminating the entire Planning and Zoning Board and put a whole new board together that are heading, we'll see where it's heading. But we're up for more discussion tonight about heights and regulations. Thanks.
Well, I'm more disappointed that a number of the Planning and Zoning Board members didn't reapply, to be quite honest with you. It was open for everybody to reapply. And in reference to signage, we have worked on, like I said, I've been working with Kathleen in regards to signage, so we need to be on the same page in regards to that. Mr. Rinaldi, in reference to the overnight rentals, I know I have been in correspondence with you, and in fact I spoke with somebody else who was referring to that on Friday and trying to put a meeting together so we can discuss that and bring that before the commission. I think that's about it. Do you have anything?
I do have a few things. I would like to thank Mr. Addison. I trust that you didn't drive down just for this meeting, but took advantage of being here for family reasons. But I really appreciate your taking the trouble to come and talk to us and give us a bit of a historical perspective. I was personally very happy to hear your comment on the sea breezes and the changes as we went up in height. I have raised that same issue. I think we have an interest in trying to make it possible to live here with as sustainably as possible, and getting rid of the breeze doesn't help any. So we will have more discussion about heights coming up. Thank you again for coming. Thank you for the comments from Mr. Rinaldi on signage. I think my colleagues have addressed that, and it looks like we're moving. I think we all agree that that's needed. I also received requests on and concerns about consent item 9A, the request for waivers. I was quite concerned to hear the comments earlier in the meeting that we need to move quickly, and we're turning over the decision-making to the city manager. I had sort of understood that part of our commitment as commissioners was to transparency, and it might be 15,000 here and 15,000 there, but by the time you add it up to a lot and we turn it over and say do it quickly, that means that it will not be brought to us for a possibility of review, or we wouldn't be asking for the waiver to let the city manager. So I'm concerned that it doesn't seem very transparent, it doesn't seem very fiscally sensible given our straits. I'm glad that a number of people spoke out against the liquor store down on Dixie. I'm familiar with that area. I certainly agree with the residents that raised the concern. I can't see any way that a liquor store is going to help things out there. So I hope that we will in fact listen to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board, which opposed it, I understand unanimously, and that we will follow through with that. I also would like to thank the Planning and Zoning Board, who I know have put in a lot of work to try and achieve, I think, some of the objectives that Mr. Waters quite eloquently put, that we want to capture our collective vision of what we in Lake Worth would like to see here, capture it consistently, publish it in form of regulations such that folks wanting to develop here, if they want to do things that fit in our vision, by all means, let's go, let's do it. If they want to do something that doesn't fit with the community, then we have expressed that in writing in a way that's very clear and consistent and sends them a clear message, so that we have, as residents, as people who've chosen to move here, like the gentleman, Mr. McCann, that spoke, who chose to move here for particular reasons, that we've expressed that that's what we want our community to look like. As far as the upzoning in the Pine Street area, I assume that my colleague, the commissioner from that district, is reaching out to the residents in that area and seeking to address their concerns. I gather there's not very much enthusiasm for the upzoning from folks in the area, so I assume he'll take the lead on making sure that that is addressed appropriately.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes